Welcome back, everyone, to the T.R.O.N podcast, The Randomness of Nothing. This is your host, Rashad Woods. Today, I have a very special guest today who has a very unique path that he's carved out for himself in life, because that's what this show is all about. And I have a great opportunity with Mr. Tommy Kilpatrick. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
I got to be honest with you. This is not something I get to hear about every single day. So it's going to be very poor of me to try to talk about you, because your details of what you've accomplished are so in-depth and help people on such a personal level. So please just give us a story on what you do.
Oh, sure. I'm a retired teacher and an author, and I had written a book on health and healing. And in 2004, I was given a infomercial contract. And so we were test marketing myself on radio interview shows for about 6 months. I lived on 3 credit cards for that. So what happened is that one of the talents got in trouble. The company canceled all of our contracts, and I was left with $85,000 of credit card debt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, that's
Now, I was promised about $100,000 a month. So 85,000 was no big deal.
Yeah. Jeez.
So what happened is my father-in-law was an attorney and a judge. So I filed 3 federal lawsuits against the banks and didn't really actually win because the judge threw my cases out. But the end result was a month later, I looked at my credit report, and all 3 of the credit cards were gone off my credit report.
I heard that, and I've read that about that, and it still seems kind of surreal that was even possible, because, there's a $1.3 trillion credit card debt, worldwide, I believe. And so how did you actually, because of that information, not have that moment of anxiety and panic, and instead say this could work? Because you're doing this on your own, so to,
on my own. Yes.
So how did you know how to formally write these? I saw some videos where you said that the banks, because it's not a promissory note, it's not an invoice, and because it's not a store merchant card with an actual service provided for you, is not an actual debt. So can you get more in depth for this show about that particular topic?
Oh, sure. And before I get started, I want to say, don't believe anything I have to say. There are 3 links in your show notes. So take a look at that. And I want you to send this podcast to your CPA or anyone who's had 1 class of accounting, and they'll tell you I'm exactly 100% correct. So don't believe me. Find a third party that's going to tell you that I'm actually 100% correct. So what it is law is language, and language is law. So if you say you have credit card debt, you've got it. There's nothing you can do about it. And when you say there's $1.3 trillion of credit card debt, there is. However, we watch TV and we'll see a bank robbery, and we always say the word alleged. So all I'm asking your audience to do is add one word, alleged. So now it's alleged credit card debt, and now it puts the burden of proof upon the bank. Instead of you accepting the debt, going into court, going, yeah, I know I have the debt. How am I going to pay it? How do I work a deal out? And that's what happens. It's all set up. So I'd like to ask one question right before I get started here. Is it possible for you, your audience, and even including me, is it possible that we have been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed?
I think anything's possible if it means selling people a service and product. I mean, it is. I mean, since the beginning of time. I mean, Charles Ponzi, the word Ponzi scheme isn't just a word. It's an actual person that, brought, from Italy, who via Canada came down to Massachusetts, and the rest is history.
And even Ponzi's mother.
Yeah.
That shows how extreme that he's his own.
All because of the international retail coupons, right? He realized the price and difference that he could purchase and then remit them back home. It's a fascinating story, right? So
yeah. So then what happens is that we say the word alleged, and it puts the burden on the bank. So let's talk about real, true credit cards. And there is a true credit card. Let's say you need tires, and you go into a tire store and you don't have the money. They say, oh, Rashad, just apply for the in-store credit card. And if you're approved, you'll get it. So you do, you're approved. They put tires in your car and you drive away. Now, at the end of the month, you get a statement. That's true. They have an outstanding unpaid invoice, which
for a service provided.
You owe the money. Right. They provided a service. They put the tires on your car. They sold you tires. So that's like a merchant. However, the bank never did that. So what you need to do is find out what cards are legitimate and which are not. And so look at the back of your credit card. If it says like from Walmart or Amazon, issued by Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Bank of London, Bank of Tokyo, some bank, it's a phony card. So that's what I'm talking about.
Got it. So here's my question. Obviously, you're going to go more in depth. You've written a book about this, and you have personal experiences as well as people you've helped. On a side note, obviously, is this widespread enough that they've tried to change their laws, lobbied Congress, or done things because of your success, or people who have emulated things that you do to say, okay, we're going to put an end to this because we're going to change the language on our credit cards and our statements and make sure that this is ironclad that people have to actually owe.
Well, the problem is you're talking about a criminal. So you're asking a criminal to go straight, and that's just not going to happen. So what the bank is trying to do is get you to be a customer. And so what they do is they advertise. So they spend money to advertise to get you to come
Right.
to the bank. They also will purchase items. In the olden days, they purchased toasters and wall clocks, and they got you to come into the bank and they gave you these
Right.
products. Okay. There's also a time I saw a newspaper ad that said, come into our bank and deposit $25 and we'll match it in
Right.
90 days. Well, I did. I took my $25, put it into their bank, waited 91 days, went into the bank and withdrew $50, my 25 and the $25 from the bank, and close the account. Let me ask you a question. Did I rip off the bank?
No, you did not.
No. Did I steal $25
No.
from the bank?
No, not at all.
And last one, is that immoral, what I did?
No, because you upheld the terms and the conditions that were.
No.
Right.
Now, that's an important question. They're going to come back at the end of this talk. Okay, so remember that it's not immoral for the bank to give me something on their deal and I walked away with the money. That's fine. So what they're trying to do is get you to be a customer, because what they do is they're able to make money on you. So when they send you the $500 gift card, that's what I call it, but you call it a credit card. See, so language is law. If you call it a credit card, you have a debt, you have to pay it morally, legally.
Right.
But if you had applied and they gave it to you, or you didn't even apply, it came in the mail, it unsolicited, it's still a gift card. So what happens is you took this gift card to a store like Home Depot, and you bought a toilet, a golden throne, let's say. So you're walking out with a toilet, and the guy at the door says, wait a second, did you pay for that? And you have a receipt. Now, here's the question for you. Who paid Home Depot? You didn't have $500, but you walked out with a $500 toilet. So who paid that night or the next day, Home Depot?
The question is, well, it's. I'm interested actually to see that answer because, well, I mean, you walked out with it, right? Did you? Yeah, let's hear that because.
Right. Okay. So you got a card in the mail, unsolicited, by some bank.
Your money paid for it.
Who paid
You
Home
did.
Depot? Right. It's the bank. The bank, right? The bank paid you. Okay. Where did the bank get the money from?
Banks get money.
From their advertising budget. So this is what they're doing. They're taking some of their money, buying you a $500 gift card. They send it to you to get you to be a customer. So at the end of the month, you receive a statement. Okay. But a statement is just that. It just says it. Now, when you have a normal checking account, is that monthly statement a bill?
No, not at all.
No, it's not a bill. It just shows what your beginning balance, your deposits, what you paid on checks and debits and other fees, and the ending balance. That's all it is, a statement. So they sent you a statement, but you thought it was a bill. So what did you do? You wrote out a $500 check and mailed it to the bank.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Because it's morally
correct
thing to do, because you have been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed into thinking that this is a bill when it really wasn't. All right. So here's the question. When you sent that $500 to the bank, was that the first time the bank had ever seen your money?
No, never. No.
Think about it. Well, wait. Think about it. A card arrived in the mail, unsolicited. It was a gift card.
Actually, you're right.
You went to Home Depot. Yeah. So, yeah, you're not the first to go, no. Then they think about it. Oh,
no, you're absolutely correct.
Yes, that is the first time the bank ever got money. So the banks are not a merchant. So we established that they didn't put tires on their car, and they did not put a service. So they have no invoice. So there's not a debt. So they cannot issue a credit card. Then you say, oh, they did a loan. Okay, fine. Here we go with that argument. So when you go into a bank with no money, you want to come out with money instead of with a gun. You know,
right.
You're going to go to a bank and you want.
We're not advocating bank robbery on this show.
A loan. No,
not at all.
So you want to go in for a loan. So here's the question. If you apply for a loan and they turn you down, do you still
absolutely
get
not.
a loan? Absolutely not. Right. So if you're approved, what you do is you go into the bank and you fill out loan documents.
Yeah. Oh,
Remember
for
that?
sure.
And then they have to verify you
And
have an
right,
income. Because if you don't have an income, then how can you pay
you
for
can't.
this debt? They also have collateral, like your
Mm-hmm.
car or your house, or if you have a personal loan, you put up your yacht for this, then they have something that they can take away from you
Mm-hmm.
legally, sell it. And if they come up short, well, that's too bad
Right.
for them. If they come up long, meaning they made more money, they have to give you the
Right.
difference.
Right.
Okay. But you also have a credit report to show some history. And your credit score determines your
Right.
interest rate. The last thing you sign is a promissory note. You sign a promise
To
to
pay it
pay it
back.
back. Am
You're
I
absolutely
right?
correct.
That's what we do when we go through a loan. But we never did that with a credit card.
Oh wow.
Okay. Because if you use the word credit card, you're sunk. So what is it? This is a gift card to open up a free checking account. So they sent you this gift
Mm-hmm.
card, just like they would send you a wall clock or entice you to match the money. Now you're getting
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the bank got you to be a customer. What's the big deal about that? 2 months ago, I typed this up and you do the same thing. How much does the average card member pay for fees? And it's $23.04 a
Yeah.
month. And think about this. The bank has 1 million card members. They're bringing in $23 million a month. I did my calculations and I came up with about a fourth of their profits. So you're telling me, why doesn't the bank stop doing this? They're making fourth of their money on this scheme. It's an illegal,
Wow.
fraudulent scheme to get you to pay $23.04 average every month for a free checking
Extending you
account.
your own money and
So
charging
when you
entrance.
wrote it, that's the thing. You're exactly right. So you write one step ahead of me. So when you wrote this check to the bank, technically, and that's in my very first show link, is in your show notes, and the link is that's what happens is you do not make a deposit. What you're doing is you're loaning the bank money. The banks are only set up for loans. If you go in with no money, you come out with a loan. If you take money into a bank and leave it there, it's technically a
Right.
loan.
Right.
So they do not loan out your money to someone else. There's just not enough
Right.
money for that. So what they do is that's an obligation. They have to actually technically a liability.
Right.
So what happens when you pay it down? It's less and less obligation. But at the end of the month, you put money back in your checking account. And so every subsequent purchase has been with your own money. So you have been writing a check thinking it's a payment, but you might call it a deposit, but really it's a loan. So you're loaning the bank money that month, and then you spend it. You send a check to the bank, you spend it. That's what you've been doing with your so-called bank issued alleged
That's
credit card.
insane.
It's not a debt. It's a checking account that you put money into and you've been drawing out. They tricked you into thinking that it was a loan, but it never was a loan because you hadn't promised to pay it
So
back.
when somebody tries to actually fight that, so and maybe it's going to sound kind of weird to say, not even weird, but you signed up, you agreed to the terms, and you agreed to the terms to pay back. So now I don't want to say there's a loophole, but now you suddenly found a way to discharge that. So how does that cycle? Not even from a moral standpoint, but from a business connection standpoint with that bank that you made this agreement that you can suddenly say, hey, I bought all this. I took my kids to on this beautiful vacation. And then next thing you know, you can sit back and say, well, tough, SH, rest of that word. And then I found this way not to pay this back. So how does that work?
You got that. You've got that exactly right. So when you use the card, you agree to terms and
Mm-hmm.
conditions. However, when you have a contractual agreement, you have to have also disclosure. Now, let's say you buy a
Mm-hmm.
house and there's toxic waste in the front yard and you didn't know that, and your family is dying. So are you going to tell me that the court is going to say, no, Rashad, you have to stay in this house for the
Absolutely
next 3
not.
years and all your family's going to die? It's
Absolutely
good for
not.
you. Absolutely
Absolutely
not.
not.
That's
Of course.
fraudulent. You did not disclose. So the bank did not disclose to you they're going to charge you on average $23.04 for a free checking
Wow.
account. So they lied to you right from the beginning. So that's how they're making their money is through this fraud. And just no one's ever seen it. No one's ever done it. But I had the experience of my own lawsuit where I thought I lost, but in the end, they took it off my credit report. So a friend of mine, she had a dormant charity and she gave it to me and I revamped it to be
Mm-hmm.
credit repair. But a few of my clients did have a bank issued alleged credit card debt. So I would write a letter to the bank explaining what it was all about and it would be removed off their credit report. So, yeah, how do you resolve it? You have a free checking account. All you need to do is write a letter to the bank and telling them that you want to close the account. But here's the thing. When you close your normal checking account, they say, oh, Rashad, we're sorry to see you leave us, but here's your $5.31 that's left in the balance. Not this case. In this checking account, they confiscate your money. If they lower your
Mhm.
credit limit, see, again, if you use their
Right.
terms, you lose. They stole your money. When they say they lowered your credit limit down, no, they went into your checking account and took out your money that you deposited. Let's say they lowered it down to $250. Well, you put $500 in. Now you only have
Right.
$250, so that means they stole $250
Right.
right off the top.
So what happens to when this does get discharged? Do they suddenly completely, you have no credit at all, or do they just discharge the balance? Do you still have the card available? Because clearly they're not going to be like keeping you as a customer. I mean, so what's the next step involved with something like that?
You are so, I don't know, you guys like you really good. You could ask me, hey, Tommy, do you have a credit
Right.
card? Yes. But
Of
do you
course you do.
know all this?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I do. So I have been off grid. I've been living on farms basically the last 12 years, and I had no credit score, I had no credit report, completely blank, gone. I would just drop off
Mm.
the system. Okay. So I came off the farm and I was going to the Philippines. I knew I needed a credit card to get an airline ticket. I was going to rent a car, so I can't do anything without a
Right.
credit card. So I applied for
Right.
Capital One credit card. And I was given, that's a proper word, they gave me a $500
Yeah.
credit
After you
line,
sued them.
but with no score. How to do
Mm.
that with no score? Because they were one of the banks. You're right. That's one of the banks I sued for 35,000. And so I was a good customer because they took that off my credit report. I'm telling you, I got a $500 credit card from Capital One, even though they sued them
That's
years ago because I was a previous customer. So I got a score about 550. I went to the credit union, got a little
mm-hmm.
loan, and I'm making payments on that. So that pushed me up about 6 to 25. And then over the last 6, 9 months, I've been using uh,
Mm-hmm.
10%. So I use about a $50
Right.
purchase and I pay it off. I know it's a scam. I know what I'm doing, but I pay every month. I don't pay a
Yeah.
single penny in interest. I don't pay an
Yeah.
annual fee. So they're going to be, I'm more than 12% of the people. They're never going to make a scam. Okay. So that's fine. But that's how I got a credit card. And my score now is 704. So for your audience is going, how am I going to do this? Well, it happened to me. So
Unbelievable.
now the next time you go into it, you're much more prepared by saying, this is my money. And hey, if they offer you $100,000 credit line, it's the same thing as them offering me $25 to come in and make my
Right.
deposit. You told me it's not immoral for me to do their
Mm-hmm.
deal and to run away with the money. That's the same thing. If they're going to give you $100,000 credit line, that's a gift. So it's a gift card. Take it and run.
God.
And then what do you say? Oh, they're going to sue you. Well, they didn't sue me. Well. That's what we do. We write the letter is pretty weak. You'd have to kind of admit that. But what if you got your CPA to write a letter to the bank saying, first of all, there's no
Right.
invoice because you didn't, and if you have
Mm-hmm.
one, please show it to me. I'd be astonished that you
Oh, no
actually have an
doubt.
outstanding unpaid invoice. But you violated the federal banking laws by claiming that you made a loan when you didn't have a promise to pay. Now stop and think about this just for 1 second. You buy a fraction of a stock of a
Mm-hmm.
bank, okay, for let's say $10. It's a fraction, right? So you had a fractional owner of the bank. You're now a bank owner. Now, do you want your bank to loan out your money to people who
Of
can't
course
pay
not.
back?
Of course not.
Of course not. Are you going to loan people money that don't even have a promise to pay
No.
back? That'd be ludicrous. So this is not a loan. They couldn't ever get you to promise to pay it back because it never was a loan. It was from their advertising budget, just like the wall clock, to get you to come into the bank, match the money. You just didn't put any money in. They gave you a 500, 5,000, 500,000. It doesn't matter. Because when you read my show notes, my second link, it talks in there how my class in accounting on banking, we had a manual to read, and that was the modern money mechanics. And in there, it said on page 6, what banks do is they accept a promissory note and they write numbers into your free checking account. So they can write any number they want. It doesn't cost them anything. As long as you got a promise to pay, they've got you. So this does not work for your mortgage. It doesn't work for your
Right.
car.
Right.
It doesn't work for a personal loan where you put up your yacht or something
Right.
like that. This is for bank issued alleged credit card debt. And that is what it is. It's alleged. And there is no debt. You have no invoice and there's no promise to pay it back. And here's the kicker. It's the obligation you have to do with these terms and conditions. But fraud undoes
Oh,
all
wow.
contracts. So in your show notes, the third link is the Supreme Court has ruled over and over again that you are not obligated to a contract if they defrauded you. if they didn't
Right.
disclose.
So that's a lot to absorb in because, like I said, we all see commercials. We all just swipe and we go, to a merchant and we get a bill and we don't even think twice about, what, as long, because we know we paid for something. And most people only dispute it when they say, hey, I didn't subscribe to this service or this website or utilize this, and they have a fraud line, right? So this is, how big is your team? How many people have you helped? And let's get into the book that you wrote, please. So is it just you that does this for
Oh,
people
sure.
in your company?
I've racked my brains over this. Is well, when I was helping people out that would come into my charity, and I would see they have a little bit of credit card debt, I would easily write a letter and it would be gone. We had about 1,000 people we helped over about 10 years'
Wow.
time. But the ones that had 50, 100, 200,000 that might have come to us in the middle of a lawsuit, well, what we would have is we would teach them what to do. And when they would go into court, I'd follow them. I'd be in a courtroom with them. I'd sit right next to them, but I couldn't
Right.
speak for them.
Right.
Okay. So they would represent themselves, and we never had a problem because we had an expert witness, a CPA, who told the court, one, there is no invoice, so there is no debt. And two, there is no loan because they didn't follow federal banking laws. There's no promise to pay it back. So when you send that letter to the bank, you're sending that CPA letter. But then you have that terms and conditions. So that's where you want to have an attorney. And then you go, oh, no, now I'm taking $200 or $300 for a letter. So there's a thing called Legal Shield, and it's for $29. You get a use of an attorney for a month. So have them write a letter to the bank saying, bank, if you do fraud, there's no contract. And it's been the Supreme Court ruled, all this kind of stuff. So it's very simple. So that's what you can do is write that letter with more substance. But here's the best thing is include a lawsuit that you've never filed. You're not going to file this lawsuit, okay? But it looks like you are. In my lawsuit, I laid out in a pleading all the crime the bank is committing.
Jeez.
And then what you do is you have a discovery. Normally you wait until they no, send it all now. So they know you're going to be asking for documents.
For sure.
The note, a promissory note, copy of that. But you're also going to have interrogatories, which are questions and admissions, and a deposition. Right. You're going to be calling some bank employee to a location, and they're going to have to tell the truth on oath with a penalty of perjury that there's a debt and they have the evidence.
Yeah, that's not happening.
The bank is not going to have one of the employees. They're going to, no, it's not going to happen. No. So here's the best thing, an injunction. This is now in the news like it's never been before. So when I say injunction, people go, oh, yeah, Trump does something and somebody runs into the court and stops them. Right. So, Rashad, if you've got some company bothering you, harassing you about a debt, you have no idea who they're talking about. You can take them to court, not to sue them, but to stop them. That's called an injunction. So the bank is going to see an injunction. So if they sue you or you sue them, you are going to file this injunction the very first minute with the court. So what's going to happen is the judge is going to say, okay, defendant, prove you have a debt. So bring me and let me look at a outstanding unpaid invoice, a certified copy of a promissory note, and they're also asking for an affidavit of debt. Someone in the bank has to swear out that you have a debt and they have the physical evidence of it. And if they don't do that in 30 days, they're in contempt of court and it stops.
Wow.
So when a bank sees this brick, they're going to go to their attorney and the attorney says, that's going to be 40 hours right now. $500 is $20,000. But we're alleging only 15,000.
No, not even close. Not even close.
And now there's going to be an injunction. Yeah. This is just, I like to kill a gnat with a can. So that's what, when you mail this to the registered agent, that's the person who receives all the lawsuits, even though it's not filed. It doesn't have a docket number, but it looks like that. So that's okay. They'll send it to the attorney. The attorney's going to go, what do they want? Click. That's all you're asking for is one click on the credit report. When it's off your credit report, do you have a debt?
Man, that's nuts, man. And so how much time does this take like the average person out of their schedule? Because they start anytime somebody, you got people that don't want to show up to traffic court, right? People will just rather, hey, I'd rather pay $150 than get it discharged, right? And show up, take time off work, miss school, I'll drop my kids off at school. So it becomes a time type of thing for people. So now you're asking, court is a scary word for people, right? Where they're like, I don't want to be in court for nothing because, people get bad thoughts in their heads, even if it's just like this and it's not like you're going to prison. So how do you get people to bridge that gap between sitting next to an attorney, having a CPA, and then, you wrote a book and I know that that's out there and it was Forgive, and I don't want to get it wrong, and Forget. So between the fear of court, hiring an attorney, and then your book, how does that all come into play with you?
It's really simple. In my book, you can figure out how to write the letter. I also offer a 15-minute free consultation. And if you do that consultation, I'll send you that $69 book for
Nice.
free. So I'm trying
For
to help
sure.
you out.
Yeah.
Okay. So my main focus is on a company that has $200,000 of alleged bank issued alleged credit card debt. Their board of directors have all maxed out their card. That's again the criminal language. They have actually withdrawn all their money from their free checking
Right.
account. So now the bank wants them to fill it back up. So there isn't $1.3 trillion of credit card debt like you had started
Right.
out with. That's the lie. The bank wants you to fill your checking account back up to 1.3 trillion. So it's arbitrary. So what you do is all you have to do is send that letter off. And I can help you with that too. I have all the documents and stuff like that. I'm willing to help you, but I'm
Wow.
looking for that great client because their CFO, chief financial officer, is probably a CPA. Let me talk to them first. Once the CPA reads my one chapter in my book called Act One, Scene One, this is a reenactment that happened to me. So when I went into federal court and I was going, why is I'm being called in? My father-in-law was going, that's unusual. Judges don't call you in and not the other party. So I showed up and he said, Mr. Kilpatrick, do you have a credit card? Well, let me start at the beginning. Oh, we'll start at the beginning later. But do you have a credit card? I went, well, not technically. It started off as a gift card. A gift card? Open your wallet up. Show me that card. So what do? I show, what's it say right there? Credit card. You're an idiot. Get out of here. So you see, that's the whole
Right.
mentality. So what you do is by sending this letter with my documentation, it'll be about 45 days because all you're asking for is a click. So it takes them about 10 or 15 days to work through the paperwork and they're going to go, just click. And then it takes out about 30 days for the cycle to show up on your credit report. So I'm saying it's no court. You don't want to go to court.
Okay.
But you see, what I want to talk to is that corporation that has 100, 200,000, all their board members and their
Right.
employees. So I want to see all the employees and the board of directors come into one meeting and their CFO is going to tell them, we're all underneath this debt. We're going out of business. So if we want to save our job, we've come across this idea that Tommy had. He's actually 100%
Yeah.
right. The bank does not have an
Yeah.
invoice and they don't have a promise to pay it back. Is it immoral? They're going to say somewhat, well, then
Right.
don't do it. But those of you who see this as not immoral, that they gave you a gift, I'm telling you, it's a gift card, and your own CPA is telling you this. And then the vice president, who's normally an attorney, he's going to be saying, yes, and Tommy's right. The Supreme Court's ruled over and over again that fraud undoes all contracts. So we have no contractual agreement. And the CPA is going to say, it's just a checking account, folks. So we have one letter here. We have the whole lawsuit drawn up. We'll put your name onto it. And so we're asking the bank to go click, 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 click. For my board of directors are saying, we're not going to have the burden. All you employees are not going to have the bar fraudulent. So you're actually
Wow.
winning victim. You're a crime victim. So
I'm just curious what they do with your card. Like, I mean, do they suddenly deactivate your current card? Do they sit back and say, like, dude, you're not about to get 10,000 discharged and then still have that in your wallet and do this to me again?
See, you say discharge. No, it's your
Right.
own money.
Right.
See, they still got you. You've been lied to and indoctrinated and brainwashed. So when you've been lied to, we can tell a lie, but over generations. So for 60 years, you and me and all your audience has been lied to. That's all indoctrination. And then if you don't question it, so I want your audience to question it, to start adding the word
Got
alleged.
it.
So that's what's going to happen is that you don't have this debt to discharge. What you're asking the bank to do is close your checking account, but you had better get your money out
Got
first.
it.
So for most of my clients, I find them money. On average, my clients receive about $2,000, and they're so thankful they would donate $2,000 of extra money
Oh,
they didn't know they had to the charity.
beautiful.
So we would split the finding. And if they said, I want to give you 70-30, and they'll keep the 70,
Right.
90-10, I didn't care. It's $1 more to my charity and all it was
Yeah.
paper. I have it already all filled out. Put your name in, it comes all out. There's your brick of paperwork and mail it off to the registered agent. See what happens. What's the worst that could happen? You can't pay it now. You're paying all your money to the bank for a free checking account. And don't believe me. Have a third party, have someone who's knowledgeable, like a CPA or someone who's had a class in accounting, tell you that I'm actually 100% correct. So I only work with people who already have a CPA or someone else who's verified what I'm saying.
Right.
So I don't work with somebody who
Right.
believes me. No, don't believe me. I will need you to have a third party tell you that I'm actually
And then you can
100%
begin the
correct.
paperwork process and do everything else for
Yeah, just all you do is fill the paperwork out, or I'll do it. You mail it off to the registered agent in about 45 days. To look at the credit report, it's off. Your card is inactive because you asked them to close your free checking account associated with that card. But then if you want to
That's
apply,
awesome.
all they can do is turn you down, but your credit scored a lot better.
Right. So where can people find you? And so I always ask my guests, they obviously don't need me to find you and your success and what you've accomplished. But where can people find you? I got to be honest. Yeah, right. Because people all of a sudden are worried about, am I committing? People are very structured and, most people are law abiding. Most people want to just stay out of headlines and do everything, the right way. And obviously, something like this, which is very important for people's mental and physical well-being and stress and family life. I found that very fascinating when I got a chance to watch your videos. I'm like, this can't be true. But then the more I'm listening to it, I'm like, all this makes sense, which is why I'm glad I got a chance. You reached out to me so that way we can cultivate these stories and get these things out here for people to listen to. So I'm really honored that you took your time out to talk to me. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for being on the T.R.O.N podcast, Mr. Tommy Kilpatrick.